Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Squid Game, Season 1, Episode 2, Hell. Quote-unquote hell. That's not quotes. That's the title of this episode, is Hell. This episode starts off. For those that aren't familiar, I'm recapping episode by episode of Squid Games. This is episode 2, which I'm going to recap. So if you haven't seen Squid Game, go watch it. If you haven't seen it, or you have seen it, stick around, listen, watch if you want. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend this if you haven't seen, unless you're not planning on it, because I'm going to spoil everything. I'm talking about everything that happened in this episode, which is a great episode. So anyway, start off. We are seeing how bodies are being disposed of. They are put into caskets that have a nice little ribbon over the top, very similar to the box that had the birthday present for Gi-hun's daughter in the first episode. Little gun lighter. Kind of a similar aesthetic. So there's caskets, ribbon on top, furnaces, underground. That's what you're seeing when this episode starts. One person, you see one of the caskets kind of cracked open, and you hear little moaning. So it's like, the people, they're not necessarily dead by the time they get incinerated. That's what we're seeing, because there's somebody, so they're not like, it's a tough way to go. It's a tough way to go. There's like this idea of rules and like being fair in Squid Game, but when you're eliminated, there's no love lost there. We have the survivors of the first game are now back in the barracks, all kind of huddled together. You have Gi-hun thanking his buddy Sing-woo, as well as the guy number 199, the guy that held him up. So he gives them some thanks for helping him survive. And we see the pink soldiers come back in. And it's different face masks this time. It's they have the square mask is the guy in the front now, and then the triangle masks are the ones. So they switched it up. I'm going to kind of keep track of this throughout the episodes to see if they just rotate or if there's like different tiers, and like we're getting a higher tier now of people coming in because the triangle people had guns. I guess the square guy had a pistol. And the other guys have like machine guns. So maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe I'll keep track of that. But 201 people are survived that first game. They survived red light, green light. 201 out of 456 people are starting to beg. Starting off, the first person was number 212, which is interesting that was the first person to start begging to, I'll pay off my debts, and please let me go. And that's, they're not there to collect any of your debts. That's not what this organization is set up for. It's set up for whoever survives gets the money in the piggy bank, which they show. So it's like you have this like one person starting to beg to be let go, and then like more and more and more, and until a bunch of people are just begging to be let go. And they're like, listen, one of the guys, Sing-woo's like, rule number 3 is that if there's a majority vote, then we can go. Then the games are canceled. So the guys are, the pink suit guys are like, okay, you have a point. Let me show you the money, right? 255 people died. Each person is worth 100,000 won or 100 million won. I forget what it said. 100 million won per person, which is $85,000 in American money. 85 grand per person. So out of the 255 people, that would be 25.5 billion won is now in the piggy bank. And you see it cling, cling, ding, 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 like a slot machine that's paying off. And the piggy bank, the translucent piggy bank, is starting to fill up with, in American money, so far there's $21.7 million in the $21.7 million is in the piggy bank right now. So over half of the people are dead. 27. The total that they could win at the end of it is 38.8 million in American money, which is 45.6 billion won is the grand total for whoever walks away. So this is a ton of money. It's a ton of money already, ton of money. The catch is if they vote to leave, so they're going to take a vote. If they vote to leave, then the money that's in the piggy bank will be dispersed to the families of the people who died, of the people which is kind of a weird thing because they vote. It's a close vote. Gi-hun votes to go. Sing-woo votes to stay. You're seeing all these people making their votes. It's neck and neck the whole way. You know, not sure. It's evened up 100 apiece. One vote left, and that last vote is the old man. It's number one. It went in reverse order, so Gi-hun started off the voting, and finishing it off is the old man, number one, and he votes to go. He was the deciding vote, and he votes to go. So on that note, I mean, they are also told that, like, if the majority of you decide to come back, then they will resume the game. So that's probably why the money doesn't get dispersed. Spoilers. The money doesn't get dispersed to the families of the people that died from them voting to go. Because at the end of this episode, I mean, a lot of this episode, they are showing how horrible their lives are outside in the real world. Like the first episode, we understand there's debt, everybody's in debt, but this one it shows like from a few different standpoints. You see Gi-hun back in his life, his grandma's sick, she's got diabetes, they don't have insurance, they don't have money. She can't afford to not only take time off of work to get treated for her diabetes, but she couldn't afford to get the treatment anyway, even if she could take the time off, which is a very American type of situation to be in, but in Korea, which is very interesting. It's very interesting. So, like, you're seeing the hell that these people's lives are. You're seeing the hell that Sing-woo's life is. You're seeing what the pickpocket. You're seeing the gangster. Like this episode's touching on all these people. Once they get out and released back into the free world, you're seeing, you know, kind of all these things. And of course, once they get out, so once they get out, they Gi-hun goes to the police. It's a funny scene. Gi-hun goes to the police station trying to explain the situation, which is a hilarious scene because, like, oh, I called this number, gives them the business card. I called this number. They kidnapped, they gas you. They killed a bunch of people. Like, we played red light, green light, and then, you know, the people that lost, they got killed. But then if you win, you get all this money. But it's like they're all wearing things, and it's like just the premise, explaining the premise of the Squid Games, or whatever that organization is called, is ridiculous. The police don't buy it. We're introduced to another character, this cop, whose brother is missing, and he happens to he goes to investigate his brother. He goes to his brother's apartment, which he hasn't paid rent. He's been gone for a long time. Gets let into the apartment, and he sees in a very similar style box that was the gift to Gi-hun's daughter. on her birthday. Also, a similar aesthetic box with ribbon to the caskets that are used to dispose of the eliminated participants of the Squid Games. The cop, this brother, that's looking for his brother in his room, sees a little box that has that same ribbon, same black box, opens it up, and it's got the business card. So he knows there's a connection there, right? So now this cop is part of the mix because he's trying to find his brother, which is, I've heard the criticism of the cop storyline to be unnecessary in the overall story of this show. But I disagree. I kind of enjoyed it. It does feel, I like it. It is a situation where you could cut it out, cut out the cop altogether, and it wouldn't necessarily hurt. It wouldn't take away from the show in any way, because there are so many interesting characters as it is. So anyway, and some of the people don't want to go. You know, back in the vote while they're voting, one of the guys is like, I would rather stay here and try than go back out there and die like a dog. You know, because that's what the life is. And then after they vote to go, you're seeing what the reality is for these people. You know, Gi-hun, obviously, the cops aren't going to believe him. He goes home. His mom's not there. He goes to the hospital where she's at, finds out that the reason why she's been hobbling is because her feet are deteriorating from underneath her because she's got diabetes. She can't work. She can't take time off of work. And even if she could take time off of work, she can't afford the medicine because Gi-hun, who is just the most lovable, horrible person, anti-hero of this story, you know, canceled their insurance to use their money to gamble. God, Gi-hun, what are you doing, bro? So, let's see, where are we at? They all get dumped off. Oh yeah, they get dumped off. This like tied up. It's Gi-hun and the pickpocket get dumped off together, and you get Sing-woo and number 199, which we haven't found out his name yet. Well, we do in this episode, but not at this point. So they both get dropped off together. So the pickpocket, you know, they have a thing where he unties her, but then she doesn't want to untie him, and then because he knows that he's gonna bug her for the money, he unties her, or she unties him, and of course he bugs her for the money. But they go their separate ways. A little over 4 years ago, I started The Many Faces. It's an ongoing series of abstract ink portraits. Each piece is improvised. Each piece is released daily. Start collecting now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. And save yourself 25% when you use coupon code RTS. That stands for The Ray Taylor Show, because that's what you're listening to, and I love you. So I want you to save 25% when you use that coupon code. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF and use coupon code RTS to save 25% when you start collecting one of over 1,600 original ink paintings. By myself, I made them. Support me. I love you. Back to the show. In this episode, we see the pickpocket. She meets with her brother, and they talk about how like she abandoned him. She's supposed to be bringing her mom over from North Korea so they can all live together, but she just dumped him in this in this church, foster care or whatever. And he's abandoned. He's crying. You see that her situation is like she's an immigrant trying to bring her family over from North Korea to South Korea. She thought she had arranged a deal with a broker to make that happen, and she confronts him, kind of, listen, man, you fucked me over, and I'm not the type of person to fuck over. So you're seeing what she's like. She needs this money so she can afford to get her mom over. Of course, you got Gi-hun and his mom. Sing Woo is a big part of this episode. So Sing Woo and number 199 get dumped off together, and number 199 wants to use the phone. Sing Woo needs to get a charger for it because it's dead. He buys them ramen to eat, offers to give him money, offers to give number 199 money because they're dropped off in the middle of Seoul, and this dude lives in the outskirts, which is if he's gonna walk is like an 8-hour walk. It's like 22 miles, I think I looked it up, give or take. Singwoo's like offers to give him money for the bus. He's like a nice guy. He's like a nice guy, despite being financially in a huge situation, which you see, like this is an episode really kind of fleshes out. You see the pickpocket girl. You see what she's trying to make happen. You're seeing the difficulties with Gi-hun and his mom. But a lot of it is the hell that is the life of Sing-woo, who you find out what kind of debt he's in, which comes to, in American money, he runs into Gi-hun at the fish market. They run into each other, whatever. He's kind of looking at his mom set up. Sing-woo's watching his mom set up her fish market in the morning, not wanting to, like, still under the premise that he's in the U.S. on some business trip. He doesn't want his mom to know. Of course, Gi-hun lives in the area. They run into each other. They have a drink. And this is where you find out, what Sing-woo's debt is, which is $5.1 million he owes in American money. So if you were to compare that to Gi-hun is in debt like $330,000. So a fraction of that, not even $1 million in debt. This Sing-woo's $5.1 million in debt, plus his mom's business is is kind of leveraged in this, as well as her business. So it's like it's going to destroy her life. This it's one thing if it was just him. He's supposed to be getting, like, once he got his phone turned on, like, he starts getting all these text messages about, how there's a warrant for his arrest. He needs to be deposed. There's like all of these like things that are going crazy because of the amount of money that he's borrowed from people and then lost gambling in the stock market and those types of things. So you get to see what kind of trouble that he's in. You also get to see number 199, whose name is Ali. No. Why is this sounding wrong? Ali. Oh my God. My brain is just barely working today. You get to see Ali. He gets that, thankfully gets the money to take the bus, goes to his job, and his boss hasn't paid him for 6 months, and he's demanding his money. His boss is like, "Oh, I don't have money. I don't." He's playing like solitaire on his computer. Also has like a stack of cash in an envelope right in front of him. So Ali's trying to get this money. The boss is like, "Get out of here. I don't want you." Just like doesn't want to pay. Obviously, just unpaid labor. Doesn't care. Immigrant, so he doesn't. There's no like protection for them. They can't go to like the cops like, hey, I'm an immigrant and this boss isn't paying me this money that he's supposed to be paying me under the table. But he steals the boss is like beating up on Allie, trying to get him out of this like metal shop or whatever this business is, and ends up getting his hand cut in this like rolling machine, I think to roll metal, and gets his hand smashed in there, which is kind of a great scene, See this asshole get his comeuppance. Envelope of cash falls on the ground. Ali grabs it and bounces, goes home to his wife. And I think they had a kid. I'm pretty sure. And he's like, gives her the money. She's like, where's his money from? It's got blood on it. It's like, just get out of here. Go back. I'll finish up stuff here, and then I'll go meet you. But just go, get out of here. We need to leave. So you're seeing the desperation that he's in. Then there's this scene where you see Sing-woo just depressed in his apartment. Like, there's nothing, like, he doesn't know what else to do. Like, there's no, outside of Squid Game, there are no options. And he's depressed. There's this scene where he's fully dressed in a bathtub, like with water in it. He's drinking, like, soju or whatever. And there's this charcoal briquette on the side of the bathtub, on the floor, on top of a hot plate. And you see smoke coming off. And I looked that up. I was like, what is that thing? Like, is that incense? What's going on here? And apparently, that scene is Sing-woo attempting to kill himself. Because one way you can kill yourself, apparently, is by putting a giant charcoal briquette on a flame and burning it in an enclosed space, and it's carbon monoxide poisoning. So that's what he was trying to do, trying to kill himself in this scene. Because it's just like there's nothing, and then he gets a knock on the doorbell, somebody's at the door, and he goes, and you see all of these different people start getting these cards. Like, are you sure you don't want to come back cards? The business cards with the symbols on it, with the phone number. So you're starting to see all these people. You see the cop confront Gi-hun outside of his house because he's like, oh, you came into the police station. My brother had a card like that. And Gi-hun's like, no, I don't know. I was drunk. He's trying to play it off like I don't know anything. But inside of his door jam, cop leaves. Cop's like, okay, you're not going to tell me. I got to keep doing my job. In the door jam of Gi-hun's house, there's a business card to the Squid Game business card. Again, so you're seeing all these people. You see Gi-hun runs into the old man. The old man wants to go back. They have a nice little chat and a meal. They share some drinks, and you see how respectful Gi-hun is to this old man. And the old man like shares his ramen. They eat the ramen dry with the powder on top. It's like something that I did when I was a kid, eating top ramen dry. You crunch it up and you pour the seasoning over it, and you just eat it dry. So they're doing that outside of a restaurant, just kind of shooting the shit. As the old man's like, "There's nothing for me here, so I'm going to go back." Which is also convincing Gi-hun to want to go back because he knows the trouble he's in. His mom needs medical attention. He needs to get out of debt. Like, he needs to, be a dad to his daughter. You also see the gangster dude who his problems. He's like, he wants to set up a thing where he's gonna get some guys together and they're gonna go into the Squid Game and they're gonna rob the piggy bank. He doesn't plan on winning the game. He just wants to just get that money, because he's in a bunch of gambling debt, from Taiwan or whatever. And these like Taiwanese gangsters come after him. It's a great scene where he's on a bridge talking to one of his criminal buddies, and talking about trying to get guys together to go rob this thing. And he's like, "Nah, that's not what we're here for. We're here. I'm selling you out. We're on this big bridge. on both sides. You got gangsters with clubs and shit that wanna come and take you for because you owe them money. You owe them a lot of money. And he ends up running and jumping off the bridge. It's a crazy scene. This guy runs and jumps off the bridge. So you're seeing not only his desperation, but the fact that he's looking to win at all costs. He's looking to not necessarily even have to. He's just trying to wants to go in and cheat the system and rob the piggy bank somehow. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's a scene where Gi-hun goes to, like, he's trying to borrow money from his friends. They say no. He goes to his ex, trying to borrow money from her, which he doesn't have money, but her husband does, her new husband, which he ends up trying to pay off Gi-hun to just leave the family alone, which Gi-hun doesn't want to do. So he doesn't take the money. They get in a fight. Kind of a bummer scene. He's at his talking to his ex. He's at his ex's place, trying to ask for money because his mom needs surgery. And then, the new dad shows up with the two kids. And it's just like, it's a bummer scene. It's a bummer scene. Because it's like, I want Gi-hun to be the best kind of Gi-hun he could be. And he's just a bummer. He's a bummer. Number one, when he's chatting with Gi-hun and they're eating the ramen, he says that the worst hell is outside of the game. Because that's, especially if you're in like those kind of financial situations where it's like to dig yourself out of like that immense amount of debt is just it's like it's not even Sisyphus. The boulder is like is a planet, and you're an ant trying to move something that is just pushing you farther down. There's no uphill when it comes to that. Which is also, a good line to convince Gi-hun to get back in the game. But yeah, they end up, there's great little montage seeing everybody on the streets at night waiting for the van to pick them up and gas them. Because everybody's going back. At least, all the characters that we've seen. Ali's going back. The pickpocket's going back. The gangster's going back. Number one's going back. Gi-hun, Sing-woo, Ali. They're all going back. And they're all going back. The cop is tailing one of the buses that Gi-hun, he's following Gi-hun. So the cop is tailing one of the buses. And inside the van, one of the vans, after the gassing, you see that the pickpocket chick had a mask on, and she pulls her mask, like she pretends to pass out from the gassing. So there's a little bit like people are going into this knowing a lot more now. Like they know what the stakes are. They know they've been reminded about what the real life is like outside of it and how just impossible coming across any large amount of money would be. So this is like their last option. But they're going in it knowing the odds and knowing what's going on and trying to get the best advantage. So that's what the pickpocket, she's like, okay, I'm going to investigate and learn as much as I can because she's a survivor. Out of all of them, she's, probably Ali would be the only other person that would understand what it's like to be, an immigrant trying to. But then Ali didn't come from North Korea like the pickpocket did. But anyway, they are all going back. That's how the episode ends. It's great. You got, first off, the aesthetic of the caskets with the ribbon on it. being similar to the gun box that from episode 1, similar to the box that the brothers had the business card in. There's also a book on the brothers' table about by this author, like philosopher or psychologist, about desire or passion. I kind of looked it up, but I would imagine because in the subtitles, it made sure to mention the title of the book as the camera's kind of panning through the brothers' room. So I would imagine the themes of that book are similar in some ways to the themes of the show, if I had to guess, based on how in depth everything is. But yeah, great episode. We're seeing, they got a taste of the real world. It was almost like a prequel in a way, because we didn't see a lot of these characters until like they were already in the Squid Game. Now, kind of going back, it's an exhale and an inhale. It's an ebb and a flow of this storytelling, where it's like they kind of went in hard and then they pull back a little bit to get better perspective on all these characters and what their motivations are. And then now they're going back in knowing a little bit more, being a little bit more prepared. Anyway, so that's Squid Game, Season 1, Episode 2. Hell. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/Inspired Disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!